Mitchell. I'm the programming librarian here at Fountaindale, so I welcome you to this program tonight. We have a very great speaker tonight. Tonight's speaker, Tom Kenz, is a proud veteran of the armed forces, husband to the love of his life, Amy, dad to the inspiration of his life, six-and-a-half-year-old Evelyn, and 5-year-old TJ. He's a self-help author and a certified life coach through Optimized Public Benefit Corporation. Serving in the United States Navy, Tom fought to promote freedom and democracy worldwide. Stateside, Tom continues the fight for freedom as he helps Americans battle the stress and fatigue that leads to the mediocrity of life. Through his Small Steps to a Healthier You series of talks, Tom has helped thousands of people throughout the country live healthier, happier lives. With the popularity of the talks growing, he has taken the series to libraries, colleges, prisons, churches, retirement communities, businesses, and now here at Fountaindale Public Library. Tonight, Tom will be helping to equip us for the greatest battle of all, the battle of our minds. So if you can please welcome Tom Kenz.
Thank you for the lovely introduction, Nicholas, and thanks to all of you for the warm welcome. And I don't want to start off tonight's program sounding negative, but I'm sick and tired, of all the negative news. I mean, you turn on the TV, right?
It's so sad.
You flip open the newspaper, you scroll through your news feed on social media, and it's nothing but negative news. You're going to hear about the latest bank collapse, how TikTok is going to be banned, how there's war in the Ukraine, chaos in Israel, there's social injustice, income inequality, inflation, there's a shortage of workers, there's a shortage of chips, there's a shortage of chicken eggs. I mean, it just never ends. The overwhelming message that we hear all the time is that we're doomed. So how do we stay positive despite all of the negative circumstances? That's what we're going to talk about tonight as I share with you 10 practices to help you maintain a positive attitude despite the odds. Okay? Before we get started, though, I just want to take a moment to define what positive. Before I define what positive thinking is, I'd like to take a moment to define what positive thinking is not. Okay, positive thinking is not walking around with blinders on, singing the Lego movie thing. Everything is awesome, everything is cool, and you're part of a team. That's not what positive thinking is. Positive thinking is an awareness of what's going on in the world, but you have a hope, a belief that things will get better. Or negative thinking, on the other hand, is you're aware of what's going on, but you think things are just going to get worse. So again, positive thinking, I'm aware it's been a very challenging few years, but I have a hope things will get better. Negative thinking, I'm aware and things are only going to get worse, we're doomed. So why is it so important to have a positive attitude? That's because what controls your mind controls your life. Okay, let me say that again. What controls your mind controls your life. If you obsessively think negative thoughts, you're going to feel discouraged, you're going to feel defeated, and you're going to give up on life. Or again, on the flip side, we think positive thoughts, we feel encouraged, we're uplifted, and we can make positive change in our life. In tonight's program, I'm going to share with you 10 practices to help you build the tools to shift your thoughts from the negative to the positive so you can take control of your mind and your life. Sound good?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Before we get started, though, I just want to take care of a little bit of housekeeping for the program. Number one is that we're going to have fun. Okay, we're going to have fun. I'm here to make you feel good about life. And to do that, I'm going to share with you all the goofy stuff I do to keep a smile on my face. The second thing is that, we got a small group here today. So if you have comments or questions, feel free, to chime in. I know we are videoing this, and it tends to scare people off from doing that. But hey, feel free to do that. We're putting this on Zoom, so people maybe who couldn't make it tonight can view this. Maybe you love the program so much, you send a link to your friend. You got to check this guy out at your own time, right? So feel free to jump in with your questions, your comments. I just try to ask that you stay on the topic I'm covering. You got something off topic, just jot that down, and we'll cover that during the Q&A portion of the program towards the end. Third thing is everybody should have a handout with Mr. Happy on it and a Post-it note. Does everybody have one of those?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
All right, let me grab one for myself here. Okay, we're just going to follow along in here. Anybody need anything, a pen to write with? Are everybody good? You got something to write with? You got your handout? You got your Post-it note? You pen, all right.
You didn't come prepared.
So how many pens do I need? 2, 1, 2, and I didn't get your name, man. You came in. Chastity. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming. And here we go. Appreciate it. Here we go. Let's see if I do this right. Carol.
Thank you. right.
Mark?
Marcy.
Marcy. All right. Melissa, I
Yes.
should just give you one of these just because.
Okay,
Why,
is
right?
it a take home?
It's like a souvenir.
Oh, souvenir.
Souvenir pen. They're yellow,
Oh, there
smiley,
we go.
happy, and they write in
All
blue.
right, SS.
Gone to all these like home garden expos. They're always giving away all the free stuff, and they're always writing black. I'm like, I want a blue pen. So I made 500 of these, so I would never run out. I could pass them out to you guys here. All right, so we got our handouts, we got our pens, and last but not least, as far as my introduction goes, is that, look, I'm not a doctor, not licensed to diagnose or cure any medical condition. You should always consult with your physician before engaging in any life-altering type plan. What I am is, as Nicholas alluded to in my introduction, is I'm a proud new dad to these two kids. I call them the inspirations of my life. This is my daughter Evelyn, who's about 6 6.5 now, and my son TJ, who just turned 5 on March 20th, the first day of spring. And, there's so many things I love about being a dad. I love, when I get home and I open that garage door and I'm going in through the service door, I hear these little feet running to say hi to me and jump on my arms and give me a hug. I swear there has never been 2 human beings that excited to see me in my entire life. I love when my kids see something, experience something for the first time. They get so excited. My son, he's got like this rock star, he starts jumping with this whip move. And my daughter, she stamps her feet and claps her hands and goes in circles. And this is a picture we took at the beach in Fort Myers. And it describes my kids perfectly. My daughter's picking up all these shells because they're treasures. And my son is chucking them into the water because that was his thing. And they were so fired up to be there. And I love the sound of laughter that fills my home. It's the greatest joy in my life. But if I'm completely honest, when my wife told me she was pregnant with our daughter Evelyn, I had a lot of negative thoughts. I thought my relationship with my wife is never going to be the same again. I'm never going to have money again. I'm never going to have free time again. I'm never going to sleep again. I was flooded with negative thoughts, becoming a new parent. And I bet I'm not the only one who struggles with that kind of negative thing. We could have 100 good things happen to us in a day and one bad thing, and what do we remember at the end of the day? And remember that one bad thing. And that's why a gentleman by the name of Dr. Daniel Amen, he's a world-famous psychiatrist, he's been practicing for over 40 years. He coined this term, he calls it automatic negative thoughts. And in all of his years doing psychiatry, he discovered that the average person thinks a lot of thoughts. They think about 60,000 thoughts a day. What's even more outrageous about this is 95% of the thoughts we'll have today are the same thoughts that we had the day before, because we're ruminating on things. And if that's not bad enough, 80% of those thoughts are negative. So if you do the math, it's over 45,600 negative thoughts that we have in a day. Your thoughts have such power. Like the great Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. You can't change your life by changing your thoughts. So how do we do it? Great question. And that's what we're going to try to answer in the next 10 practices that you can follow along in your hand. So the first thing, we're going to talk about meditating daily. Now, meditating is quickly becoming a fundamental, along with diet and exercise, because we have so much stimulation. There's so much of this attention economy where people are trying to take your attention to a device, to a screen, wherever. And you can't go anywhere without being bombarded. Today I'm pumping gas, and now there's a TV and a pump, and it's advertising stuff. I'm at the gym. I'm doing a little cardio, and there's a wall of TVs blasting CNN. I'm literally like this with my hat. I'm like, don't look up, because it's just like all bad news when I'm doing my cardio. And if that wasn't bad enough, I went to the sports bar, and I went to use the bathroom, and above the urinal. Like, now there's a TV in there, like I can't even go potty in peace. It's like, just leave me alone. And that's why it's so important now that we unplug from that stimulus and tune into our higher intuition by meditating. Now, meditating has spiritual roots. My grandmother used to pray the rosary during World War II. My grandfather was serving, and she meditated to shift her focus from the fear that my grandfather would be killed, to a faith that he would return home safely. And in much the same way, when we meditate, we increase our focus to shift our thoughts from the negative, those 45,000 ants, those negative thoughts, to the positive. Now, there's so many different ways to meditate. I'm going to share with you what works for me. Now, you just tweak it and you kind of make it your own practice. But there's 3 simple steps you really follow. And the first one is you want to have good posture. So a great cue to help you have good posture is just pretend somebody's got a string attached to the top of your head and they're pulling up. that puts your body in the right alignment. When your body's aligned properly, it functions properly. So it's really important to have that good alignment. So that's our first thing, is our posture. The second is we have to take deeper breaths. Often when we're stressed, we're breathing short, shallow breaths through our chest. That's your body's reaction to stress, called fight or flight. Now we can shift our body's reaction to stress from fight or flight to pause and plan by taking deeper breaths in through our diaphragm, deep into our belly. So a great cue to help you do that is you just put your fingertips on your belly button, and then you breathe in through your nose into your hands for 4 seconds. And then you exhale for 6 seconds and actively push your navel toward your spine to blow that air out through your mouth. And we'll practice this all together in a second. So we have good posture, we take deeper breaths, 4 through the nose, 6 through the mouth. And the third thing is we need to grab an anchor. Like a boat in Lake Michigan will drift away if it's not anchored down. So your thoughts, and probably again with those crazy negative thoughts. So an anchor is just a mantra, a saying that you would use to regain your focus. So one that I like to use is an acronym. It's WIN. What's important now? So when I'm at home and I'm with my family, maybe I'm thinking about some things that happened on the job where I was working today. Take that deep breath, grab onto my anchor. What's important now? Being present, taking care of my family, not on the job site. Okay, so we're going to use that anchor, the WIN, together here. And we're going to do 3 breaths. So we're going to just have good posture. Straight attached, top of head, shoulders back, chin tucked. Put our fingertips on our belly button. We're going to breathe in through our nose for 4 seconds, starting now. And then we're out through our mouth, drawing our navel in, like we put on tight pair of pants. 6 seconds. And then you're in for 4. Draw now for 6. Grabbing out of the anchor. What's important now? If our thoughts drift away. And then last one, in for 4. And out for 6. All right, very good. Namaste. Now meditating. Again, you make it your own. You can do it as a mental cool down at the end of the day, maybe for 10 minutes, or as a mental warm up first thing in the morning to get you in the right mindset. And again, shifting those thoughts from the negative to the positive. That leads us into practice number 2, which is catch the good. Catch the good through gratitude logging. Now, gratitude logging is one of the most powerful things you can do to boost your happiness. And research actually proves this. So a recent study by Dr. Evans and McCullough, they proved that if you gratitude log just 5 things a week for 10 weeks, you will have 25% higher life satisfaction. Now, there's a picture of the study. I know this is a terrible slide, but what I want to show you is that I do have hard science behind everything I teach, and I do have hard copies that you can check out afterwards. Just don't take my word for it. Look into it a little deeper for yourself. If you're joining us virtually, you'll get my email address at the end of the program on a slide. Just write that down, send me an email, and I'll send you a PDF of all the studies that I reference so you can check that out for yourself. Now, the reason gratitude logging works is because it triggers a part of your mind called the reticular activating system. And this is a part of your subconscious mind that when you tell it something is important to you, it begins to show you more of those things. And I compare it to when my wife and I had registered for our baby shower at a store called Bye Bye Baby. Who's ever been to Bye Bye Baby? Right, Nicholas, you were there too. So I had never been to this place in my life. I thought, we're going to go in there with that cool gun, we're going to scan a couple things in an hour, and I'll be on my way. Well, no. It was like 4 hours in the store, and I was honestly completely overwhelmed. Like, I had no idea what half of this stuff even was, or even did, or if my future child would even need it. So my thinking was, I'm an engineer, I build roads for a living, I know how stuff works, I'll pick out the stroller. How hard could this be? It's got 4 wheels and a little chair that your child sits in. This will be a piece of cake. And then I get to the stroller section. And there's like this wall, like hundreds of strollers. And there's one that's $100, there's one at $1,200 with a fine Italian leather traveling case. And I'm just like, wow, I can get out of here, without having an anxiety attack. So I took a deep breath, did my what's important now, started folding the things up, spinning them around, checking the turn radius. And then we finished registering, my wife and I go home, we sit through all the reviews on Amazon, and on all the strollers. And we picked out this one. This is the City Select by Baby Jogger. And the reason we picked it is because it's a stroller that grows with your family. Right? You can have like a second seat, a kick plate, and there's 16 different configurations, and it's got a high resale value. So we decided we're registering for this stroller. And I kid you not, the day I registered for the stroller, all of a sudden, it's like everybody in my neighborhood is pushing a stroller. And why was that? Did everyone rush out and buy this stroller? No, they had them all along. I just didn't recognize it. But because I told my mind it was important to me, this stroller, because I would be pushing my future child in it, my mind began to show me more of the strollers. They had been there all along. Just like there's a lot of good in our lives, sometimes we just fail to recognize it. So what gratitude logging does is it helps us retrain our brain to show us more of the good in our lives. So a great acronym I like to use is called Grateful Pets. You know, pets, cats, dogs, wherever you get home, they're happy to see you. They're grateful to see you. So use this acronym. The P in pets is for people. Each night we're going to write down a person we're grateful for, an experience we're grateful for, a thing we're grateful for, and a surprise. I like this. I just learned this from Dr. Emmons. Again, he just wrote a new book called Gratitude Works, about all the practices you can do. And one of the things to keep your gratitude logging practice fresh is to log about things that surprised you that day. So at this time, I'm going to give you a minute to write down on that Post-it note one thing you're grateful for in each one of the categories in that PETS acronym. So write down a person, an experience, a thing, and a surprise today on your Post-it note.
It's today.
Yes, but I mean, if you want to broaden it, like all the time, throughout the week, whatever you want to do. Okay, so would anyone like to share what they wrote on their Post-it note? Don't all volunteer at once. But go ahead.
Okay, my P is my husband, my person, he is my person. My experience would be a Pilates class I took today.
Okay.
It was a new one. It was hard.
That's good.
It was good and hard and sore, but the instructor is great. She's always very encouraging. A theme is I love our library, all the resources that it provides to the community and free resources. And then the surprise is that I applied for a position that I was not selected for, but they identified me for a different position.
Hey, that's all great news. Well, thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
Anyone else?
Sure.
Go ahead. Lois.
Grateful or person is my fiance Keaton. Experience was we had a first-time sale at, I work at a museum, and our volunteers do like floral arrangements, so we had a new payment processing system today for the Weed Lady sale. Yes. A thing was the headband and wreath that I bought from them, and surprise was my boss checked in on me. Was also kind of like spying on me today, listening to me and my staff talking, so I was surprised by that.
Okay. All right, thanks for sharing. You were going to go that last.
Well, the person was Carol, because it was something bothering me, and she shared an experience that made me realize maybe I'm not crazy. The experience was watching my granddaughter that's delayed take 8 steps all by herself. This is crazy, but I just got this Apple Watch, and it predicts where I'm going next for reading my calendar. It tells me the route and how long it'll take. And
That's pretty cool.
and the surprise was I was thinking about meditation, and there's a meditation program that's going to be at the library, and I was thinking I don't need to do that, but then it was right here, and that was like a message that I should take meditation.
All right, nice surprise. Or Carol, you're last but not least.
Well, I really only have 2 things. Person is very hard because there's many people. License one of them for me, I like that. But my very shallow answer to fate is my TV.
Your TV?
I live by myself, and that's my company in the evening. And I often think to myself, going through the pandemic that we did, without all the streaming services, I had no contact with very little contact with the outside world for the last 10 months. And I enjoy that, very selective in what I watch. I don't watch a lot of usual TV. I'm selective what I would watch. So it does keep me company, it keeps me occupied, and I think I learn
All right. Well,
very
thank
strong.
you. Hey, it's your list. Well, thank you, everyone, for sharing. So become a grateful poet, or excuse me, grateful pet. Be grateful like one of your pets by gratitude logging each night in one of the categories in that acronym. Now, these first 2 you've probably heard of, right? The meditating, gratitude logging, and the reason you've heard of them before is because they're super important. Right? They're the foundation for positive thinking. As I said earlier in the program, what controls your mind controls your life. And if we can't control what's going on in our mind, it's going to be really hard to see results in our life. So the meditating is really important because it helps us get our focus away from the negative, to decrease those ants, those automatic negative thoughts. And the gratitude logging helps us see more of the good, implanting some of those positive, inspired, and creative thoughts. So those 2 are your foundation. Now, if you're not doing those, that's where you should start. Now, if you already got those down, I'm going to share with you now 8 practices to kind of build upon that foundation. So that leads us into practice number 3, get a cue. Get a cue in the form of pictures, quotes, post-it notes, anything that inspires you. Have these pictures, whatever it is, just visible all over. The whole point is to have so much good surrounding us that it crowds out those negative thoughts. Take some post-it notes. Have a friend write down some positive qualities about yourself. Write it on that post-it note. Slap it on that bathroom mirror. And when you're getting ready in the morning, read those things out loud. Make it a part of your morning routine, like a daily affirmation. Right? So the reason this is so good and so important is because the more we say positive things about our life out loud, the more we begin to believe them. Right? And if you don't believe this works, just ask any guy how good of an athlete he was in high school. And what you find out is the older that guy is, the better he was in high school. And that's because he's been telling the stories of the glory days over and over and over again so much he begins to believe that he was this great athlete. I call it the Al Bundy syndrome. I don't know if you remember the show back in the day, Married with Children, Al Bundy. He was the main character in that show. He scored 4 touchdowns in one game, and he was the best athlete to ever come out of Polk High. And, Al was a fullback. They never touched the ball, so the probability of him actually scoring 4 touchdowns was very low. But I'm sure every decade that passed, Al just kept adding more touchdowns, and now he was the best athlete ever. So when we do these things, we say these positive affirmations each day. We have our kids read them. We put them on their bathroom mirror when they're brushing their teeth, just to reinforce, I'm beautifully, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, I am loved. And we just want to really cement that in, that they are loved and accepted. Now another cue that I've been using for years is what I like to call mojo flower. Right? Now, like any good nickname, there's a great story behind how Mojo got his nickname. This is a solar dancing flower that I bought at Dollar Tree probably 12 years ago, right? So a good friend of mine, Mike Carroll, been going to Bears games with him forever. He's a season ticket holder. I buy one of the tickets, right? I found out that Mike is going to be battling cancer. He had colon cancer. It's a pretty hard diagnosis, right? So I decided, I'm going to drop everything I'm doing. I'm going to run over to Mike's house, hand him one of these flowers, say, hey, look, I'm here for you if you need anything. Brought the solar dancing flower with me. Said, Mike, you need anything, you let me know. 3 months later, I come back, drop off my season ticket money with Mike, and he looks great for a guy going through chemo. He still has a lot of hair, lost some weight, gives me a big bear hug. And out of the corner of my eye, I see the solar dancing flower on his kitchen table. I'm like, Mike, you still got the flower? He's like, yeah, Tommy, that's my mojo flower. You see, when I go to chemo, I take mojo with me. And because I have the flower, the nurses put me closest to the bed by the window so mojo can dance. And now more nurses come in to see me in that hospital room, Tommy, and it changes the whole atmosphere. And that's how I'm going to beat cancer. It's hard to answer. With the grace of God, I might beat cancer. And now I got a cool nickname for the flower, the mojo flower. And Mike, very inspiring guy. He was actually invited to Payless Community Hospital out in the southwest suburb to do panel discussions where people who are undergoing cancer treatments can ask him questions what it's like to go through these treatments. And Mike gives great advice. He says that the two most powerful weapons you have to fight cancer you already have, and that's your mind and your heart. So Mike, great guy. You can check and read more about Mike on Payless Perspective magazine. And then get cues. Get a cue. Phone pictures, post-its, quotes, anything inspired you. Have this stuff around all the time. And that leads us into practice number 4, I get to. I had the honor and privilege of serving in the military, in the Navy, 1994 to 1998. People always ask me, what was your experience like? And I have a pretty standard issue response at this point because it was 25 years ago that I served, and it's the best thing I'll never do again. It's the best thing I'll never do again because military life is hard with long working hours and poor conditions, and you add deployments away from family and friends. It can be a downright miserable life. And I remember the first time going on deployment for 6 months, part of the aircraft carrier battle group, the USS John F. Kennedy, to patrol the no-fly zones in Iraq. And we were heading over, and we're going to be gone for 6 months. And my chief, my superior officer, says, yeah, go to see Bill's character. And I'm like, yeah, right. I got to be on this boat with 5,000 guys I don't like, who use foul language like the kid uses sugar on cereal and eating food that's barely edible. I got to be with these guys. This is going to be terrible. And I should have been priming myself with good thoughts, right? That I get to go to see, that I get to visit all these countries that I never would have gone to in my entire life. I got to see Italy, Spain, France, Greece, Turkey, Israel, Iran. I don't even know where that is. Iran, but I was there, and they have a Navy base there, and how cool was it that I got to see all this stuff? But instead, I was so negative at that time that I really wonder how much better would my experience been if I had been priming my mind, framing things in a more positive way. So it's so powerful words, right? So if you just change one letter in one word, instead of saying I got to, instead I say I get to, right? Instead of I got to go to work, no, I get to go to work because I have a job. I can provide for my family. I get to go with my kids and serve after-school activity here because my kids are healthy enough to participate. I get to cut the lawn. I have a home that I own. I get to maintain. I even use this one. I get to have a colonoscopy. Didn't really think I would ever say that. The idea of them going up my woohoo with a camera wasn't something I looked forward to. They changed the guidelines from 50 to 45, but hey, this might prevent cancer. This might save my life, so I get to have a colonoscopy. So you just change.
If you lived in Texas, you wouldn't get to anymore. They just changed the insurance.
Oh, we can't do it in Texas.
Well, you can do it, but the insurance doesn't
Oh, yeah.
cover it anymore.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And just, yeah.
Well, I'm glad
See,
I get to have one in Illinois, all right? Access to health, right? So, real powerful, right? Just by changing one letter and one word, you can change your experience and attitude for the better. I get you. And that leads us into practice number 5. Just move it. Exercise is one of the best things you can do to boost your mood. A recent study done by Duke University proved that people who exercised, the results were just as effective as the antidepressant drug sold. And what was even better news was that individuals who exercised because they made it part of their lifestyle were less likely to relapse into a depressive state, where individuals who are on medication, when they stop taking the medication, would sometimes relapse and become depressed. Now, I'm not saying, go home and flush your medication down the toilet, okay? What I'm saying is I have a copy of the study. If you want to take this with you to your doctor, say, hey, would this be something that would be part of my treatment plan? Feel free. I'll give you the study. I can email it to you, like I said earlier. My dad, he does both. He walks his dog every day, and he takes his happy pills. I remember once he stopped taking his happy pills for a week. And it was once, because at the end of that week, my mom said, you're getting back on the pills. He's miserable without it. So there's a place for the medication, there's a place for exercise in both. The exercise, it's really the number one thing you do to boost your health. It reduces the risk of heart disease, osteoporosis, cancer, diabetes, and a lot of new research is showing how it helps preserve the mind and helps with memory. And the one thing about exercise, sometimes it gets a bad rep. We think of these shows like Biggest Loser, and it was very popular, and these last chance workouts, and it's trainers yelling at you like drill sergeants to collapse in a sweaty mess, but that's not exercise. Exercise is really anything to get your heart rate up. So whether it's going for a brisk walk or a bike ride or kayaking or digging in the garden or doing a little dance, making a little love, getting down at night, anything that gets that heart rate up, even if it's only for 10 minutes, you're going to get a health benefit. So just move it. Even if it's just for 10 minutes a day, it's going to help increase your health and happiness. And that leads us into practice number 6, sing along. Growing up, if anybody ever asked me what kind of music I like, I used to say ABC music, anything but country music. But times have changed, right? With the lack of quality rock today, I found myself jumping on the country rock bandwagon. And once you weed out the songs about your girlfriend leaving you and your dog running away and your truck dying, you're left with a lot of good, feel-good, sing-out-loud music. And every country artist, they had you covered, whatever mood you're in. There's a love song, a breakup song, a working man song, a patriotic song, a drinking song. So whatever the occasion, you're covered. And I remember singing, serenading to this beautiful blonde in a furniture store parking lot called Ashley Furniture back in Mokina in the day. This song came on the radio. It's called I Hold On by Dierks Bentley, so I just spelled it out. It's just an old beat-up truck. Some say that I should trade up now that I got some jangle in my pocket. But what they don't understand is it's the miles that make a man. I wouldn't trade that thing in for a ride. What they don't know is my dad and me, we drove her out to Tennessee. She's still here, now he's gone. So I hold on to the things I believe in. My faith, your love, our freedom. To the things I can count on to keep me going strong. So I hold on. All right, there you go. So that's the song. And I'm singing in this parking lot to this girl I hardly know, who's beautiful, way out of my league, right? And I'm thinking of memories, right? I remember this old truck that my parents and I used to load up every summer to go on vacation in the Northwoods and Manitouche waters. It was a 1978 GMC Suburban 3/4-ton trailer and special. My mom calls it the original SUV. And we loaded this thing out with so much gear. It probably got like 6 miles to the gallon on gas. It was horrible. We listened to 8 tracks of Creed's Clearwater Revival and the Four Tops. And it was amazing, those memories that I had. And my mom drove us and 6 other kids in the neighborhood to this place called Kittyland for like my 8th birthday party. And my mom had to lock up the brakes to avoid getting in an accident. And seatbelts were optional back then. And I was in that cool seat in the 3rd row, right? And I ended up smashing my face into that 2nd row seat and had a bloody nose. And there was a bloody nose stain on the back of that seat for 30 years. And I held on to that truck until I married that hopalon I was singing to. And I mean, this is like, there's so many memories from the wedding, but it's all kind of a blur, it goes so fast. But this was probably my favorite, just like our closest friends. You know, we're on the limo bus, we're driving from the church to the reception, adult beverages in hand. And Travis Tritt, It's a Great Day to Be Alive, came on. We sang, screamed that song, my wife and I, in the back of this limo bus, and my friends just kind of like shaking their heads, like, well, why would they sing this song? It's horrible. So, music is so tied to memories. And wow, I didn't count on that one happening there, getting listeners on here, but yeah, it was such a great day. So, the point of this practice is to create your own kind of picking up playlist that you can jam out to whenever you're kind of feeling down. Does anybody have like a go-to song that they listen to? Maybe they're not feeling good. I know I had that Walking on Sunshine song when you came in, but does anyone have a great song that kind of picks them up every time they want to share? No?
I like Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish?
Yeah. I like
So what's a song he sings that you love?
Billie Eilish, some of her songs that's my go-to would be like song Bellyache. They're not super positive, but I just like the sound and the beats that are in them, and they just kind of take my mind off of things for a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Even on a jet plane.
Leaving on a jet plane?
The first time I ever flew, that was on the radio. And I think one of the great times when you drive, we were going to a wedding, and my son made a playlist on a CD of songs I never got to hear because I was too busy raising kids. And he would play it, and I said, oh, well, that group broke up that time. But it was so much fun being able to sing along with my kids and my family to songs that I had, to me, were new, that had been around for a long time. And I think music just makes it better.
All right. So we'll move on to, which number is this? Is this 7 or 6? 7. So 7 is still a comparison. All right, so this is a picture of my dream truck. I love the original SUV, the GMC Suburban. So I bought a GMC Envoy in 2008. It was used, slightly used, 3 years old, 2005. You know, I've had it like 14 years. I bought it in 08, and it's got about 181,000 miles on it. But this was my dream truck when I bought it, right? It had the lumbar support, the dual climate control. It had the volume that turns down as you speed up, and you know, as soon as you slow down, it turns down. As you speed up, it raises the volume. And so it was my dream truck, and knowing that this truck's not going to last forever, I started looking at some newer models. I looked at this newer GMC Sierra, not new, because there's no way I could afford that, but newer. And guess what happened to my dream truck? It looks like a hunky, junk, rust bucket compared to the newer models. And what happened was my comparison killed my content. That this truck that I love and was so content with, comparing it to something newer and better, killed my contentment with it. And I do this more than I like to admit. Right? You know, when I'm at home watching a fixer-upper on HD TV and I compare to the Renault models, my house looks like a shack. If I compare my physique to that of the airbrushed cover models on fitness magazines, I think I'm a soft, middle-aged man. When I compare the weather, when I'm down in Southwest Florida in December to what it's like back up here in Chicago, I think to myself, why would any logical person choose to live in the Midwest?
Right.
And social media, you know, makes it so easy to compare to that, you know. When this post the best height of the rest of society we live in, you don't have to go far to find somebody telling you how they're having the time of their life. So, follow the friends that you compare yourself to. Unsubscribe from the fitness magazine, the boat magazine, the garden magazine, because this only robs you of your content. And that leads us in practice number 8. Appreciate the ordinary. You know, we have a great quality of life in America, and I got to witness this firsthand when I served in the military. A lot of people lived in poverty, and tin sheds, mud floors, no running water. Yet the people that I would meet seemed to have a greater joy than I had in my life. And I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out why I was so hung up on the one thing I didn't have, my family and friends with me on deployment, instead of the hundreds of things I did have. So I started doing this exercise. I called it the time machine exercise. So I would grab something that I own and say, I appreciate this cell phone, because I remember when we didn't have cell phones, right? When if you wanted to research something, you had to dust off the encyclopedias that were 20 years old, that were buried in your closet. And it literally took like forever to find information because you didn't know how to describe it when you were doing your book reports and stuff like that. And now today I just say, hey Google, why is the sky blue? And it's reading me an answer like in 3 seconds. And if it takes longer than 3 seconds, I'm like ticked off. Like, why is it so slow? Right? Another thing I'm appreciative of, and I think about is, I appreciate air conditioning. Like in this room, climate control. I remember going to St. George grade school as a kid, we didn't have air conditioning. And you had to wear those uniforms. You had the light blue polos with the corduroy pants, and you just sweat bullets in that classroom. And I remember the nuns would yell at us, Tom, quit fanning yourself, you're only making more heat. Sister Bernadette asked stuff. And we would walk, and you would hear the corduroy screeching everywhere you went. It was just like a hot box. But today, pretty much everywhere you go has climate control, indoor air conditioning. And on the flip side, I appreciate warmer clothes. I remember being a kid growing up looking like Randy here in Christmas Story. I can't put my arms down because you had so much gear on. Well, today you got Insulate, you got fleece. They even have fleeces with coils and a battery pack in it to keep you warm, so you can withstand like any of the elements. It's really amazing. So jump in your time machine to help you appreciate the ordinary. And this leads into practice number 9. Say no with a bigger yes. The great motivational speaker and author Jim Rohn says that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So you want to spend time with people who are more positive, have a good aura about them. Not people who have kind of this negative aura, this negative state kind of suck the life out of you. I compared to Pigpen, from the Peanuts cartoon. He's got this cloud. There's people who just have this cloud, the negativity. You might not be able to see it physically, but you can kind of feel it. So this is where we need to learn how to say no. Right? To say no to the negative people and yes to the positive people in our life, who breathe life into us and fuel us. Now, if you're struggling to find people like that, a great way to help you find individuals who have a better attitude is to volunteer. Volunteers typically are passionate about a certain cause, and that's why they're giving their time to it. And being around people like that only helps fuel you, helps you become more positive. Now, this is actually a phenomenon called helper's high. Researcher Alan Dukes, he did a study on this, and showing that people who volunteered received the kind of the same health benefit, this boost of serotonin that people do when they exercise, like the runners. So maybe running and exercising isn't your thing. Maybe volunteering could be your thing. Now, I can experience helper's high firsthand. Back when I served in the Navy, I went to a community relations project at the Little Sisters of the Poor nursing home in Grasse, France. And there I met with the head mother. Her name was Mary. I know it's hard to believe that a nun would be named Mary. But what was hard to believe was Mary was actually, Mother Mary was from St. Paul, Minnesota. So she spoke perfect English, and she said, Tom, get to work, painting this hand railing up in the mountains here. And I'm like, up there, sanding it down, painting in the beautiful mountains, getting fresh air. And I was just like, I'm heaven up there. And afterwards, the nuns cooked us a feast compared to the shipboard food that we ate. We got to meet all the women who lived in the home. And they were so appreciative. They were all smiling. I met this young lady here. She's 103 years old. And she was the liveliest person in that home. And she was walking and talking 100 miles an hour. What she said, I had no clue. She was speaking French the entire time, but I didn't need to understand what she was saying. I could feel her appreciation for us and the other sailors in my heart. And that's when the light bulb went off for me, that we're all created with these unique gifts. And when we give those gifts away in service to other people, we come alive. So for my shipmate, to me, it was doing some physical labor that the women couldn't do at the home. And for the nuns who lived there, it was hospitality and taking care of the women and feeding us sailors. And for the women there, it was just sharing a hug and a smile. And all those people coming together to support one another created this positive aura, in this environment you wouldn't think it would be. I remember my leading petty officer Chris Little, right? He's from Atlanta, Georgia. He took us, he was the guy who told me, you need to go do this, Tom. This is going to be good for you. And we were driving up in the mountains. He's like, hey, just prepare yourself, because a lot of the women who live here, they have outlived their family and friends, and they kind of just been left to rot and die in this home. And that's how he described it. So going in, I thought this was going to be this really doom and gloom and horrible place, but it was not like that at all. It was completely the opposite, because everybody came in service to one another, sharing their unique gift. The good news is you don't have to go to Grasse, France and volunteer. You can do it right here in Bolingbrook. So there's a great organization called Normal Moments. So what their mission is to provide housekeeping, lawn maintenance, restaurant meals, house sitting and pet care, and other services to parents of critically ill children, so that parents can better focus on helping their kids. There's another one called Angels Grace Hospice, which brings comfort and dignity and peace to help people with life-limiting illnesses. Now, they're close. So here's how I actually do this. You go to this place called volunteermatch.org. You can fill out a profile. And that's all I did. I just said, Bolingbrook, volunteer opportunities, Bolingbrook, Illinois, and these are like the top 5 that popped up. So you can do that for yourself. What's cool is you create your own profile, you can pick causes that you like, and then it'll populate customized volunteer opportunities for you. Yeah, so Angels Grace Hospice is the one. There's DuPage PADS, which is public action to deliver shelter. So in the winter months, at local area churches will house individuals at night. There's the West Suburban Food Pantry. You can do a food drive. It's something we did when I was in college. I don't know.
We have a new food pantry that's running. Yeah, that one's moving to Bolingbrook. There's a brand new nonprofit one. I'm trying to think of the name. But I know they're looking for others. It's on the Weber
Okay.
roadside down here. It might be Remington or Weber or something around in there. Okay.
So we got another one here at this Bolingbrook Hospital. They said volunteer part offers people of goodwill the opportunity to make personal contributions of time, effort, and caring to patients and their families. I think a lot of volunteers at the hospitals just kind of like help people get to wherever their doctor appointment is, because it's such a big place.
And I think they've got a pet thing too.
I call the hospital, they don't call me back for pets to go work with me.
You know, because of COVID, they weren't taking volunteers for quite a while.
Yeah.
So I got some other ones here. Veterans of Foreign Wars, you can just call them up and be like, hey, do you have any current service members in the area on deployment? Maybe you put together care packages for them. Feed My Starving Children, you do these hunger packs, which is, it's super fun, well organized. You're packing these small boxes that get shipped all over the world to help people in need. I don't even, do you guys have a Friends of the Library? All right, so you can do that right here. Bolingbrook, become a friend of the library. Like I said earlier, volunteermatch.org is a great resource to fill out a profile and have more customized different volunteer opportunities.
Meals really needs volunteers right now.
That's the scene, so,
Yeah.
So you drive food to seniors who are homebound, okay? That's Meals on Wheels, all right? Anybody else? Anything they want to plug?
I'm part of Sierra Club too.
Sierra Club? And what's Sierra Club?
Climate issues, environment.
You do everything. All
I
right.
do Sierra, the township food pantry, and the library.
Well, thank you. Okay, so say no with a bigger yes to volunteer. And that leads us into our 10th and final practice of build a routine. A lot of the material I put together for this program came from me just asking people with a positive attitude, what's your secret? And contrary to popular belief, that people are just born happy. The people I met have been through some stuff, have been through some challenges, but these practices that they had, whether it being showing gratitude or volunteering or exercising, to help them maintain a positive aura despite going through some hard times. Now, a great exercise to help you to put together a routine, like a happiness routine you might call it, is an exercise in journaling called Why Today Right. Okay, so that's where on days you're feeling alive and you're feeling fired up, you're going to write down what you did that day. Okay, so take for a month, for example. You got 5 days, you're feeling fired up, you're feeling alive. You wrote down each one of those days what you did, and you kind of look for themes. What are some themes that, some similarities on the days I'm feeling fired up and alive? And then what you do after that is you basically, you build a routine, but you also have to set reminders. That's one of the hard things to do, like to remember to do all this stuff. You know, we come to a program like this, we're excited, we got all these things, we want to try, but the consistency is hard. To build habits, you got to have these reminders. So Charles Duhigg wrote a book called The Power of Habit. He talks about this habit loop, where you set a reminder, and then you build a routine on it, and you get results. So for me, I found out that on the left here are things I did physically. Right, I went to bed earlier, so I got a good night's sleep. And I got up early, and I wasn't starting the day off like a fire drill. And I kind of eased into the day. So I would eat a sugar-free breakfast, and plus I would exercise and do a stretching routine. I would get into the Word and meditate. I would exercise throughout that day. I would try to eat healthier foods, more dark leafy greens in the form of a smoothie or a salad. And if possible, take a nap. I found that these things help me physically feel better, more connected, more alive. And then on the right side here were things that I did mentally. You know, I wanted to model manners, to my children. Say please and thank you. I want to learn one new thing a day. I want to share the truth with my kids and teach them something every day. I wanted to pray often. At the end of the day, I wanted a gratitude log and identify what the number one thing I could do tomorrow that would make it successful. And then the last thing is something I teach my kids a lot, and it's care more and be you, you'll be all right. And I don't have a lot of original quotes. Like, this material, obviously, I learned from somewhere else, but this is probably my only original one. And it's, you know, if you just care more about whatever the heck it is that you're doing, and you just be yourself, and not be someone else, you're going to be all right in life. You're going to be successful. It's something I try to teach my kids, and it's something I try to model to them every day. So you're going to notice here, you know, I had these reminders go off my phone different times in the day. And you do that, you know, for probably like a month, so it becomes a habit. And then you don't really need the reminders as much because it's a kind of a habit, it's something you do automatically. Now, maybe you're not in tech, you want to have a little dry erase board with a checklist. You can do that too. Maybe you have a little journal that you can write down things in and you want to do each day. You know, however you want to do it. You kind of just make it your own. And what I found was, after I put these routines in place, I got results. Right? My life that used to be this insane roller coaster of extreme high emotions and extreme low emotions was now way steady. And my worst day today is probably better than my best day 14 years ago. And I compare what happened in my life to scaffolding. Now, if you've ever seen them build skyscrapers in the city, the guys and gals in the trades, they build this scaffold. So if they fall, they don't fall down and plummet to their death. They only fall one notch down and they can get back to work. And the same thing happens in our life. When we build this routine, we're building scaffolding essentially. So when we have a bad day, we don't hit rock bottom. But we only fall one notch down and we can get right back to where we were the day before. And that, my friends, is how you stay positive today.